when you're working on music and an album, and you've just finished one, there's kind of like a big gap of time that goes by um, before you kind of know that you're ready to start the next one. You kind of like go through a bunch of songs that you end up scrapping, and then finally you end up creating one where you're like, okay, I will stick with this one. And then generally the rest of the album kind of follows one song. This was the first one where I was like, I like this. This is kind of the direction I want to bring the album into. I think when I started working on Wings of Nowhere I was really around the time I was starting to get into like very story-based songwriting. I had just finished working on The Glimpse like 6 months, 7 months before this, and then I was really into this whole like world building kind of approach to writing. And when it came to Wings of Nowhere, the world always kind of built around a lot of things that I was going through at the time. And the kind of the world that I ended up creating for Wings of Nowhere was this kind of group of friends that really got kicked out of their homes and stuff like that because there was this landlord who died, and their children, or the landlord's son, basically took over all of the kind of apartments that landlord owned in like the city. And then the landlord basically said that we are demolishing all these buildings and rebuilding something new. And so basically the streets of the city were flooded with people, and all of these people basically had to find a new home. And the main characters of kind of this album basically went to a lawyer, which is where this the album really starts. They go to this lawyer guy who says he owns a house just outside the city, and so he brings them out of the city to this house. But what he doesn't tell them is that the house is practically abandoned and destroyed and all of that, and it is miles and miles and miles out from the city and basically the middle of nowhere. And then the lawyer drives away and leaves them there. And so the story basically is based around this group of friends who are kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere in this abandoned house, and they kind of have to decide whether they're going to try to go back to the city or if they're all just kind of stuck there. Yeah. So I've always loved collecting CDs and stuff like that. So every time I make an album, I always end up making like a little CD case for the album. So this is like the album cover here. This house here is the house that the characters kind of get stuck in through the album. And then you can see here that there are like a bunch of tornadoes and stuff. And it's because like the area that they're in is like always like stormy. It's really not safe. That's why the house is like completely destroyed. And then if you follow the road all the way down back to here, you can't really see it, but down there is kind of where the city is. So it's really, really far away. And this is basically exactly the color scheme that I was kind of going for, like a really dark green and some like grays and almost like a little bit of like a blue tint that was kind of like faded away a little bit. But this ended up being like, I was really happy when I ended up getting this color scheme, because this is like exactly what I saw in my head when I was making it. But you can see like dragonflies coming out of the ceiling of the house, and it's because the house is kind of, they don't learn this until later, but the house is kind of full of like these almost magical dragonflies that kind of live in the house, and then they kind of, by the end of the album, they kind of start to like the house that they're living in. On the inside, I always kind of include like the single arts, because I always make art for like the singles. I don't always I haven't really shown anyone these, but I do kind of make art for the singles, and then this is the CD that the songs are on. That is the art for Your Last Burden, and over here is the art for Tornadoes and Dirt Breathers. It has a message here too. I never thought to leave the city, but I guess I never had a choice. The question now is whether I should go back and whether we will die on the way. And that's kind of referencing their the walk on the way back that they take after the house burns down in Broken Beautiful Burning. And then on the back of the CD case, I have the track list here. This is kind of the setup that I had going on when I was working on this. I have the guitar here. I have a little drum pad over here. My laptop is over here. And then microphone and piano down here. And then, as you can see, it is a absolute mess, and it'll probably stay that way for forever. So this here is Home Is Where They Leave You. This is the opening track to the album. This is the one where they interact with the lawyer, and then the lawyer leaves them in the middle of nowhere with house. I open up with it's like a reverse synth, so you have so it ends up sounding like it's kind of building up, and then I have like the dun dun piano there, so you'll hear and I started to figure out how to use like these much smaller like kind of production kits and tempo sounds to really add in like textures around the song, like the tick tick tick. I found just added a lot more to the sound of it. And then the drums, it's really around the time where I got the drum pad, so I was using a lot more drums in this album too than before. So you have the first drum, and then tick tick tick. Yeah, and then I also went down to here. This is like the first time the chorus goes around, and I made it like a very, very small chorus, so you don't really expect it to go a lot bigger later on. If I turn off the loop here, we met at the lawyer and said, I'm begging you. It goes really quiet. I'm begging you. But it's really the same notes as before, too. I'm begging your pardon. It just goes quieter. I'm begging you. And then I have, when I get over here, decided this a homeless, well, there's another build up over here. It's a close call. Wait, but I'm begging you. A very different chorus. I'm begging you. What kind of house is this? If I had to pick, then it wouldn't have been this way, but I'm begging your pardon. I'm begging you. What kind of house is this? If I had to pick, then this is where and then I go into a very, very different verse. It still has that dun 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 dun, but it just really has the crystal wave keys over here are really doing the thing that makes it sound very different. I don't see a bedroom nor even the kitchen, so I asked him for a better. The way the album kind of ends is that after the house burns down, and then basically the dragonflies burn down with it, or that's kind of what the characters think, but they're never really sure there's a line where they look above and then they think they see dragonflies flying, and it's never really certain. But also what isn't kind of certain is exactly what happens after the ending of the album, because what happens is the characters are walking back because they have no other choice, and it's just the right distance where if they were to make it, they would just barely make it back to the city. But what happens is one of the characters, one of the friends, falls over and is not able to keep walking. And the main character basically has to decide, do I go back and help my friend who has fallen? And the friend doesn't just fall, the friend pushes the main character out to keep walking and then falls. But if the main character stops at all, they're not going to make it to the city. They're just not. But if the character keeps walking, they might make it to the city. And so it's kind of that decision is where the album ends. Outside so that I keep the city inside, and 'cause when you realize that you're not who you want to be, that's the moment that your heart comes crashing down. What if I realized there was... When I'm writing, I generally write in these two notebooks. This one used to be my main notebook, but now it is full. This one contains the first 4 albums are in here: Figure in the Mirror, Peace Belongs to Anger, Mary Claudius, The Glimpse. And then I ran out of space, and so I moved basically all of my writing over to this notebook over here. This one has the last 2, Wings of Nowhere and the No Glades Contract. But of course I'm not gonna show you guys the inside, because it's all confidential information in there. There's one song in particular that's kind of like an outlier to following the story of the album. Like most of the songs are all part of the same kind of world and story, but there's one that's a little bit kind of separate from them, and that's To You from Her. It's the only one that I made a music video for, because I wasn't really making music videos for albums until No Glades Contract. But this one I did while I was in dorm at university, and it was about the song was about my granddad, who passed away not that long ago, and it was kind of the way that I did the video was really about his very creative and kind of attitude to life. He always was making little creatures, or little like recycling people or stuff like that, or like little recycling things. Like there's one thing that he made for us, which was like a little mouse, and he painted like a rock, and he made like a little mouse, and then he put it made like a little nest for him, and it's like a little house with a nest for the mouse rock kind of person thing. But he was always making things that were like really creative. And you can see up here I have the little or what remains of the little Play-Doh guy from the to you from her music video. There's not much that remains of him, but that is what kind of remains there. But yeah, I made that video when I was in the dorm, and it was really hard to try and do anything kind of creative because school was really busy and stuff like that. And then they gave us these little like little bags, or little goodie bags that that some of the older students brought to a bunch of the people's rooms, and inside was a little tiny tub of Play-Doh. And then I started just fidgeting with it and making a little creature, and then I started making a stop motion. I'm like, this would be perfect for that song. I think my favorite song off the album had to be The Room Upstairs. I guess when I was doing like the choir part, I think was when I realized like I really liked it, when I got like this part right here, when I got that, I was like, well, that sounds like kind of scary and dark, but also it was kind of like it had like a lot of like fast-paced kind of energy to it as well, and I really liked when I had that. So I knew right away, like when I was making it, so I was like, oh, that was cool. And I was like, the thing is when you get something that is like, when you have something that's really simple, but also but it sounds like you really like the sound of it, but it's also really simple, you can tend to go to where you start to like question it after, and it's like, but it's really not that complicated, so it can't be that good or whatever. And then like you see here, like this is it, this is all of the choir sound, is just this, right? And so you'll be like, oh, it's not complicated enough, I need to add something, I need to change something, there must be something wrong with it. Sometimes the really simple stuff, it's okay to leave it as really simple. I think when you get in your head too much, you can kind of ruin a song. And I think sometimes, like, if something sounds good and it's really, really simple, it's okay. You can leave it. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes it's even better too. But yeah, don't overcomplicate it in your head. It's not what you see. No one's gonna see this. People are just gonna hear this. And I think that's one important thing to learn. I also really like when I get to the guitar part, I was really happy with the guitar in this song too.
This time